Hello and welcome. Let's build the following layout. One header that goes the full width, followed by 3 equal columns, and finally one footer that again goes the full width. When the screen is getting smaller, the layout is changing to something like this. One header followed by the articles and finally by the footer. Let's see what we have in the starting code. There is a container that hosts all the header, the articles and the footer, and just some simple CSS in order to get the thing started. Given the fact that we want to build this with the CSS grid, the first thing I'll have to do is go and select this container, and inside it I will apply a display grid. Also, I will add another property saying that the grid gap is 10 pixels. And now we'll have this grid gap that we also have over here. The most complicated thing for this example, it will be to define the grid template areas. If we look at the final example and try to place this in a grid, most likely we'll end up with something like this. We'll have a header that goes on 3 columns. After that, one article in every column, and finally one footer that again spans on 3 columns. So basically it will be a 3 by 3 grid. So for this, I'll go here and define that I want to have a grid template areas, and after that, on every row we will define the content of the columns. So initially, on the first row, we will have a header. We can name this however we want, but the idea is to be consistent in our naming. I just named this H in order to be more easy to type. After that, article 1, article 2, and article 3. And finally, in the last row, we'll have our footer that again spans on all of the 3 columns. If we look at what is happening on the screen, things have changed, but our example is not yet complete, because one final step that we will need to do is to come and add the link between these grid template areas and all our classes. So for the header, we will say that the grid area it's H. For the footer, the grid area it's F, and so on. And now when we save, we will see again that things have changed and are looking exactly as we intended in the final example. One last thing for our example is to ensure this responsiveness part. So when we will shrink the size of our window, things will go in the responsive view. Basically, what is happening is to move this grid from a 3 by 3 grid to a 5 by 1 grid. And this is quite easy to be attained. We can do this in multiple ways, but we will continue to use the grid template areas because they are providing a lot of control. And I will come here and add a media query. When our screen is smaller than 600 pixels, I will take again this container, and inside it, what I will do is to change the grid template areas from how it looks in the default desktop view to just something like this. We'll have one item per row. And if we save, for now things are looking exactly the same, but if we shrink our window, we'll see that now also our example is going into the responsive view. So everything has been done just by using this grid template areas, after that the grid area, and these two.